The dominant and increasingly widespread trend in the modern NBA is for teams to base their style of play on what is considered statistically most efficient. The Houston Rockets, under the influence of Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni, were the first to almost completely eliminate the mid-range shot from their offense. The Boston Celtics in recent years have adopted a style heavily centered on high-volume three-point shooting. The Indiana Pacers have increased their pace exponentially. All of this has been driven by a single principle: statistical efficiency. The mid-range jumper was phased out because it was deemed a low-percentage shot with limited payoff. Three-point attempts were dramatically increased in volume because of their high reward. Transition and semi-transition possessions became more frequent because they are more effective than possessions played against a set defense. In short, the role of analytics departments within basketball organizations, especially in the NBA, has grown steadily over time. Their task has increasingly become to predict, as accurately as possible from a statistical standpoint, how to maximize the average outcome of a single possession, then extend that logic across the majority of the game and build an entire system around it. This has inevitably led to a narrowing of the differences between teams' playing styles. Once the statistically perfect possession was identified, everyone attempted to replicate it as often as possible, at the expense of diversity in solutions and offensive systems. This is why many insiders argue that NBA teams now tend to play in very similar ways, and why the league is increasingly described as a copycat league. My question, shared by many basketball analysts, is the following: is relentlessly searching for the perfect possession and replicating it as much as possible truly the optimal choice? In other words, are the extreme, analytics-driven decisions made by NBA teams genuinely the most efficient ones, or is a middle ground between efficiency and variety the better solution? To answer this question, I turn to mathematics, particularly to the game theory and the Braess's paradox. The game theory is, by definition, the study of mathematical models of strategic interactions. Basketball, which is the game we're analyzing, can be seen as a non-cooperative, asymmetric, zero-sum, sequential, perfect information, combinatorial, finite, evolutionary, mixed strategy, stochastic game. I'll be brief with the definitions. It's non-cooperative because opponents cannot form alliances, asymmetric because each team doesn't necessarily earn the same payoff when making the same choice, zero-sum because a team benefits only at the equal expense of the opponent, sequential because teams do not make decisions simultaneously, and teams' earlier actions affect the outcome and decisions of the opponents, perfect information because all teams at every stage of the game know the moves previously made by the opponent. Then, it's combinatorial because the difficulty of finding an optimal strategy stems from the multiplicity of possible moves. Finite because the game ends after 48 minutes. Evolutionary because teams adjust their strategies over time. Mixed strategy because you can't have a complete and deterministic plan for how a team will act in every possible situation in a game. And stochastic because the outcome of the game is influenced by both the actions of the teams and random events. Now that we have placed basketball within the framework of game theory, we know that it is subject to the principles that govern this field. That being said, before moving on to the demonstration, I first need to define the Braess's paradox. The Braess's paradox, named after the German mathematician Dietrich Braess, is the observation that adding one or more roads to a road network can slow down overall traffic flow through it. You may ask why, and the answer is that if each driver is making the optimal self-interested decision as to which route is quickest, a shortcut could be chosen too often for drivers to have the shortest travel times possible. What makes it important here is the idea behind Braess's discovery so that the Nash equilibrium, that'll be defined later to avoid adding too many definitions all at once, may not equate with the best overall flow through a network. Let me show you how the Braess's paradox works in practice. In the example you see here, there are two cities, A and B, connected by two different roads, a green one and a red one. The two roads have the following travel times. To drive the first half of the green road, it always takes 20 minutes, regardless of traffic. To drive the second half of the green road, it takes n divided by 10 minutes, where n represents the number of cars on that segment of the road. The travel times on the red road are identical, but reversed. N divided by 10 minutes for the first half, and 20 minutes, independent of traffic, for the second half. As a first example, let's assume there are 200 drivers who need to travel from A to B. Since the two roads are equivalent in terms of travel time, we can reasonably assume that 100 drivers choose the green road and 100 choose the red one. The 100 drivers who take the green road will spend 20 minutes on the first half and 10 minutes on the second half, given by 100 divided by 10. Likewise, the 100 drivers who choose the red road will spend 10 minutes on the first half and 20 minutes on the second. As a result, both groups of drivers take a total of 30 minutes to travel their respective routes. Now let's assume that a new road is built to speed up traffic, a superfast road with a travel time of 0 minutes. Each individual driver must now decide, knowing that 200 people need to travel from city A to city B, which initial segment to take. The rational choice is clearly the red road. If we compare the first halves of both roads, the green road has a fixed travel time of 20 minutes, while on the red road 20 minutes would only occur in the worst-case scenario, namely, if all 200 drivers chose that same route. The red road is therefore always better than, or at worst equal to, the green one, making the choice of the red road's first segment a no-brainer. This reasoning, however, is applied by all 200 drivers, who therefore each take 20 minutes to complete the first segment of the journey. Once they reach the midpoint, each driver must then choose which second segment to take. Stay on the red road, which would take 20 minutes, or switch to the green road, which is again always better than or equal to the red road on the second segment, for the same reasons mentioned earlier. In fact, the only scenario in which the second half of the green road would be equal to that of the red road is the extreme case where all 200 drivers take the green road's second segment. In any other situation, the green road would be faster. Once again, this appears to be an obvious choice. As a result, all drivers use the new superfast road and, after taking the first segment on the red road, switch to the green one. The total travel time for each driver is therefore 20 minutes for the first segment and 20 minutes for the second, for a total of 40 minutes. We have already seen, however, that before the construction of the superfast road, the same journey took only 30 minutes. In other words, despite adding an extra road to supposedly reduce congestion, travel times have increased. The 40-minute travel time represents what, in game theory, and in particular in non-cooperative games such as basketball, is called a Nash equilibrium. A Nash equilibrium is a profile of strategies, one for each player, such that no player has an incentive to be the only one to change their strategy. The thought each player has in their mind is, if I change my choice while everyone else sticks to theirs, I would be worse off. However, as this example shows, a Nash equilibrium is not necessarily the best possible outcome for the group as a whole. It is simply the most stable outcome when each participant acts selfishly. What we should therefore aim for in non-cooperative games like basketball is not the Nash equilibrium, but what is known as the Pareto optimum, named after the economist Vilfredo Pareto. A situation is Pareto optimal or Pareto efficient when it is impossible to improve someone's condition without worsening someone else's. This principle can be succinctly summarized by the concept of collective efficiency. One of the most well-known examples of the contrast between a Nash equilibrium and a Pareto optimum is the prisoner's dilemma. In short, two criminals are interrogated separately. If both remain silent, thus cooperating with each other, they each serve only 1 year in prison. If one betrays the other, the one who betrays walks free, while the other serves 3 years. If both betray, they each serve 2 years. The Nash equilibrium lies in the outcome where both betray, resulting in both serving 2 years. The reasoning is straightforward. Putting myself in one of the prisoner's position, if I believe you are going to betray me, it is in my interest to betray you as well, in order to serve 2 years and to avoid serving 3 years. But if I believe you will remain silent, it is still in my interest to betray you and walk free. In every scenario, my individually rational choice is therefore to betray. The Pareto optimum, on the other hand, lies in the outcome where both remain silent and each serves 1 year. This outcome is better for both prisoners, but it is not stable. Each of them would be tempted to betray the other in order to gain an even greater personal advantage. Now, it's time to finally apply all these concepts to basketball and come to a conclusion. To make things easier to understand, let's map a general basketball play onto a diagram. Here, 1 is the point guard, 2 is the shooting guard, and 5 is the center, while solid lines indicate a drive or shot attempt, and dotted lines represent passes. The play starts with the ball in the hands of either 1 or 2, who drives from the top of the key toward the basket. When he arrives at the elbow, the driver has 2 options. He can put up a shot at the basket or he can shovel the ball to 5. If 5 receives the ball, he also has 2 options. He can take a shot or he can pass the ball to a cutting 1 or 2, whichever guard it was that did not make the initial drive to the basket, for the layup. Next to each pathway is a function that is meant to show the probability that the given step will be completed successfully. The variable x stands for the fraction of the time that the given step is used. X equals 0 if that option is never used, and x equals 1 if the option is always used. Every step of the play has a law of diminishing returns. The more it is used, the more the defense learns to expect what's coming, and the less effective it is. Now, with these formulas you can imagine the situation like this. The 1 guard is quick and a good ball handler, but is not so good at finishing around the rim. The 2 guard is worse at driving, but is much better at finishing around the basket. The center 5 is somewhere in the middle. For simplicity, I have assumed that all passes are successful 100% of the time. If you look at the play diagram, and you start to reason about what is the best way to run the play, 2 things will become apparent. The 2 guard will never be more successful at driving the ball than the 1 guard. Even at his very worst, the 1 is successful on 50% of his drives, which is as good as the 2 guard can do. So, apparently, there is no reason to ever start the play with the 2 guard driving the ball. By the same logic, the 1 guard will never be more successful at finishing at the rim than the 2 guard or the center 5. At their very worst, 2 and 5 are 50% effective at finishing at the rim. So, apparently, there is no reason to ever have the one guard try to shoot. If you buy this reasoning, which seems pretty solid, then you can cross out two edges of the network above. The one guard will drive the ball 100% of the time and then pass to the center 5, so that the only remaining question is how often 5 should pass the ball on to 2 for the layup, and how often he should try to finish himself. The most straightforward method is to use the Nash equilibrium solution, which goes like this. If 2 is shooting more efficiently than 5, then 5 should keep passing the ball to 2 for the finish. The moment that 2 becomes less efficient than 5, then 5 should take the shot himself. The result of this procedure is to reach an equilibrium, defined by the point where both 2 and 5 are shooting the same percentage. This results in the center 5 taking the shot 33.3% of the time, and both 5 and 2 making the layup 66.7% of the time. The final result of this strategy is that the drive portion works half of the time, and the layup is successful 2/3 of the time, so that the overall success rate of the play is 1/3. Even though the logic seemed relatively unimpeachable, there is in fact a problem with the way we considered the offense. For example, just because 1 is always better than 2 at driving the ball doesn't mean that he should do it every single time. The correct way to optimize this play is to consider all the options simultaneously. That is, start by making a list of all possibilities for the play, and there's 6. Then write the efficiency of each possibility as a function of the frequency that it and the other possibilities are used. If the efficiencies of the 6 options are F1, F2, F3, until F6, and the fraction of the time that each option is used are X1, X2, X3, until X6, then the overall efficiency of the play is X1 F1 plus X2 F2 plus X3 F3, until plus X6 F6. Optimize the total efficiency as a function of X1, X2, until X6 by taking derivatives, and you'll find the real optimum efficiency of the play. For this particular play, the optimum efficiency is 42.3%, well above the 33% that we got from the reasonable solution. It involves the 2 guard driving 25% of the time, while the 1 guard drives 75% of the time. As for the shot attempt, the center 5 should shoot 50% of the time, the 2 guard should shoot 45% of the time, and the 1 guard should shoot 5% of the time. Just to belabor the point, I should make it clear that the true optimum solution has the 1, 2, and 5 shooting very different field goal percentages. In fact, at the true optimum, 1 shoots 50%, 2 shoots 77.5%, and 5 shoots 62.5%. In light of this fact, it would seem obvious that we should take shot attempts away from the 1 and 5 and give them instead to the 2. But it isn't true. The best solution is not the most obvious solution, nor is it the one that seems most fair to the players involved. So you can take 2 things away from all this. First, getting the ball too often in the hands of your superstar is not a great choice. And second, you can change the players with the different type of plays and their relative success rate to obtain the same result as in the example. If running pick and rolls is an efficient option, you can't run it most of the times, and it's the same for pushing the pace too much, shooting too many threes, eliminating every mid-range attempt, and so on. I personally feel like NBA teams are going towards a Nash equilibrium, which seems logic statistic-wise instead of picking the optimal solution. Simply, it is the reason why the best teams in the NBA are not the ones who run the most, or shoot the most threes, or the fewest mid-range attempts. Poorly contextualized statistics won't ever solve basketball, nor make it extremely efficient. And that was all for today. If you want to support this channel, Feel free to reward my work in any way you'd like, and to check the description for more exclusive content. Thank you, and see you in the next video.